Wait a minute. We have new blood today, right? Oh, okay. Hello. No. Hello. Nope. Hello. Oh, I can hear me now. I'm gonna can we start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone, and we are going to do audience introductions. I'm going to have Mr. Nick get oh, good man. Start with you and work around.
Nick Carvis, Assistant Principal and Athletic Director here at Dirigo High School.
Carolyn Biot, I'm a teacher in RSU56 and a parent.
Jim Thurston, Town of Peru citizen, and our son, Abram Thurston.
Heidi Connolly, Director of Special Services.
Karina Lee, Library Director at Ludden Memorial Library.
Cindy Petherbridge, the librarian at Dirigo Elementary School.
Kristen Arsenault, Library Tech at Dirigo High School and Dirigo Middle School.
Mike Nolet, resident of Dixfield.
Leah Nolet, resident of Peru and teacher at Dirigo High School.
Nicole Couture, resident of Peru.
I'm Cameron Carpenter, World Studies teacher at Dirigo Middle School.
To be, hopefully. Okay. Before we get to the adjustments to the agenda, the school board and the administration would like to honor, I don't call him Dr. Bruce Ross, but that is his title, for 18 years of service on the board. We spent many meetings for negotiations. I'm telling you, 2, 3, sometimes nights a week for many months, summer months, late nights. He did the buildings and grounds. He did what else? Oh, finance, and always, even with his business, coming to the meetings, which is very difficult. And it's a lot of work, and people don't realize, excuse me, Region 9 too, for I don't know how many years on that one. And he's been on there many years. And we want to thank you for your service. And we have a little something. And besides being on 56, he was 21 on SAD 21 at the beginning when we were there. So we've been, and I want to thank you very much. So come on up. There's a cake for you too. And especially, we never got to eat half the time and we'd have these late meetings and he would come from work and it'd be pretty hard. And his wife Cindy put up with us for many years and I'm hoping he'll come again sometime. Thank you. And they're going to serve the cake while we move on. All right, adjustments to the agenda. Do we have anybody on? Deanna? Okay, so we're gonna do roll call. Adjustments to the agenda. Motion to add the following. And we got a note, there's the new hire needs to be action item. Yes. Could I have a motion, please?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Comments? Seeing, we'll go roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Thank you. Consideration of the minutes of the June 13th, 2023 board meeting. Could I have a motion, please? And a second? Comments, question, revisions? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Not voting.
Larry, Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Okay. Public comment. This time the public can comment respectfully. Is there anybody online waiting? Okay. If you want to have a public comment now, raise your hand and come to the mic, state your name. And if you have a question, usually it would be if we can answer, but usually we get back to you. Does anybody have a public comment? Come on up.
Is it on now? Okay. I will. Maybe, yeah. So my name is Kristen Arsenault. I'm the library tech at Deergo High School and Deergo Middle School. The following statement represents the local librarians of RSU56, including both our district library staff and the local public library director. The purpose of this letter is to petition against a rating system for the school district. Implementing such a system would go against professional practices of librarians across the country and may be considered a violation of our students' First Amendment rights if challenged in court. A similar proposal, LD 1008, an act to establish a rating system for books in school libraries, was recently voted down at the state legislature. There are no reputable, professional, and unbiased sources which have created a framework for such a rating system, nor will any reputable, professional, unbiased sources create such a framework. You have received letters from the American Library Association, the Maine Library Association, and the American Civil Liberties Union of Maine. The purpose of those letters is to make clear that this sentiment is a professional and legal standard, not just one held personally by the three of us. Since you are to have the discussion, we want you to have all the necessary information because providing information is our job and we take it very seriously. We understand the concern being addressed by the rating system and wish to shed some light on the selection process as outlined by District Policy IJJ, which is being reviewed today. As school library staff, we are tasked by the district to select materials which A, support achievement of the content standards of Maine system of learning results, B, support the goals and objectives of the school system's educational programs, C, enrich and support the curriculum, D, take into consideration the varied interests, abilities, and maturity levels of the students served, E, foster respect and appreciation for cultural diversity and varied opinions, F, give comprehensive, accurate, and balanced representation to minorities and women in history, science, leadership, and the arts, and acknowledge the contribution of ethnic, religious, and cultural groups to our American heritage. G, present a balance of opposing sides of controversial issues to enable students to develop a capacity for critical analysis. H, stimulate growth in factual knowledge, literary appreciation, aesthetic values, and ethical standards. I, provide a background of information that will enable students to make intelligent decisions in their daily lives. And J, respect the constraints of the school unit's budget. In order to discover and select materials, a number of reputable, professional, and highly respected review publications are consulted. This includes Booklist Online, the book review publication of the American Library Association, which has been publishing reviews for 118 years, Kirkus Reviews, who has been publishing for over 90 years and awards the Kirkus Prize, Publishers Weekly, a highly respected review publication, which has been publishing for 151 years, School Library Journal, another publication of the American Library Association, which has been publishing for 69 years, and Common Sense Media, a nonprofit organization which seeks to provide fair and accurate information to parents, children, and educators about various types of media, which was founded in 2003. We also consult local and national book award lists. These award winners are determined by committees within the American Library Association, the Maine Library Association, and some awards which are voted on by Maine students themselves. There are no materials in the library which are considered obscene by law, and nor do we seek such materials as part of our selection. Our district's libraries have had a very successful year with 4,151 more checkouts this year than last year. And as we wish to foster self-directed lifelong learners and readers, we hope that this trend will continue into the coming school year. If we implement a rating system, then our students will be deterred from using the library as a result of restricting content, as they will no longer feel that we trust them to make their own decisions about what to read. If a parent is concerned about what their student is or is not reading, then we urge them to communicate regularly with their student about their reading habits. We can trust parents and students to make their own decisions about what they read and what they believe. Implementing a district-wide rating system which locks books behind a mature label would be allowing a small group to dictate what is appropriate for all, which is a task that we fundamentally disagree with as library professionals. So that's signed myself, Cindy Petherbridge, District Librarian, and Karina Lee, Leaden Memorial Library Director. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on.
Good evening. As I said in introduction, my name is Leah Nolette, and I am a teacher here at Dirigo High School, as well as a lifelong member of the River Valley community. I'm here today to address the school board and explain why changing our library policy and adding some kind of rating system is ultimately a poor decision. Book rating requires that someone make a judgment about the content of a book, and that rating will not be objective. It also isn't practical. Which books will be okay to have in the stacks and which should be removed? How do you define sexual content? What about biology books? How graphic is too graphic? Who gets to decide and why? We already have policies in place for parents to object to books, so this is an unnecessary step to take. Additionally, red flagging books for content that is controversial, objectionable, or otherwise designating it as something negative hurts the kids whose lived experiences and identities are reflected in those books. Experiences with book banning in Maine have shown us that the books most frequently targeted feature LGBTQ+ characters. Our LGBTQ+ students are at high risk for mental health problems, and books can help them by affirming their identities. Something like this would keep them from freely accessing them. Removing the books from the stacks and putting them in a separate area like this is limiting and could be simply defined as censorship. I am someone who struggled finding her identity in a small town community, and having access to stories that enhanced my worldview while resonating with my lived experiences was something that was incredibly important to me. I asked the school board not to limit our students' reading, but instead to encourage them to engage with a wide range of literature, which has been selected by our professionally trained staff based on the literary value of the text. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Nicole Couture. I have lived and worked in the River Valley for over 30 years as both an educator and a healthcare professional. These two careers share several similarities, one being an intrinsic desire to help others, a level of intellectual curiosity, the drive to keep learning, and sadly, the all too often soul-crushing knowledge that we are not valued in proportion to the importance of the work we do or the amount of ourselves we put into it. This is why I am so frustrated these days by political pundits and sadly school boards across the country second-guessing educational professionals. We should not be micromanaging the people who know more about their field than we do. Our superintendent hired professionals, people who chose to spend money on a minimum of 4 years of college, learning how to educate kids and navigating the world we currently live in. I ask you to let your teachers teach, let your librarians curate books, allow these trained, caring professionals to do the jobs they were hired to do without the yoke of some arbitrary rating system impeding their expertise. Even if it was a good idea, we as a small rural school system lack the financial resources to hire another professional to do the job we already pay our teachers and librarians to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Communications.
So we have 4 this evening. We received a letter from the town of Dixfield thanking us for allowing them to use the Derigo High School gym for voting. They were very impressed with our custodial staff and everybody who helped them get set up, and they said things ran smoothly, and they were very thankful for that. We also received a letter from Winter Giddings, who's the Maine Association of School Libraries, addressing concerns about instituting a rating system in school libraries, as well as outlining the professionalism of our current library staff. We are indeed fortunate to have Cindy Petherbridge and Kristen Arsenal at the helm of our libraries. We received an email from Heidi Broomhall in support of e-supports, and we received an email from Zach Berry in support of e-supports. I have forwarded them all to the full board, so you have access to the entire emails or letters. If you'd like me to read any of them, I have them with me tonight.
That's it? Okay, new business. Motion. What? Oh, you want to do a hire first? All right. Oh, on where? Oh, that's right. He's away. He's in Oregon.
Hello.
Hi, Jason.
All right. Is Cam there?
Yes,
Cameron
he
is here.
Why don't you come up to the?
We'll bring him down to the podium so you can see him.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'm bringing before the board tonight Cameron Carpenter. He graduated this past May from the University of Maine at Farmington and did his student teaching at Derigo Middle School for Abby Wood. Not only did he student teach, but he subbed in the building and really was very well received and well respected by both the students and the staff. I know from my conversations with Cam as a social studies teacher where his expertise is, and it's a perfect fit for what we're looking to do this year at the middle school. So as you see that there's been a resignation of the world language teacher who had been serving the middle school, and there's funding available from the COVID relief money for 1 more year of a position at the middle school, in part also because the alternative ed program came to an end. So what we have done is we posted this position as world language or social studies, just understanding how few world language teachers there are. And it was a world studies course if we were unable to find a world language teacher. So I'm bringing before you Mr. Carpenter to teach a world studies course that I will work with Ms. Wood and he to develop that will meet the culture objectives that are already part of the ACTFL standards and the Maine learning results. And then for the second half of the day, we will use his time in the building providing services that fall under the umbrella of what that original ESSER COVID money was for, which is essentially intervention. As you know, my 8th grade cohort, there are a number of needs in that group, and Cam has developed some really great relationships with some of those students. And we're gonna make some lemonade here with with Mr. Carpenter for the coming year. If you have any questions for me or for him, we're ready to rock.
Any question? We're looking over the resume, Jason. Go ahead. Bruce does? Oh, Liz has one. Sorry, Liz.
I've already met Cameron and welcome aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate it, ma'am.
Jason, quick question. You went for world language or social studies. So instead of him doing world studies and then social studies, there's the need for the intervention.
Nope. So, all right, it's kind of tricky. So I had ESSER funding for an alternative ed position, which could have continued for one more year. For a bunch of reasons I don't want to get into here, I chose to move in a different direction for this last year of the COVID relief money. Then simultaneously, near the end of the school year, our wonderful world language teacher reached out to me and informed me that she had indeed applied to teach somewhere closer to her home in what was a permanent position because she had been teaching for us in a COVID position. So that means that in late June, I had a situation where for the first half of my day, I was without the staff person who made my schedule work, right? Because that individual resigned. Historically, well, I say historically, the plan for next year was that the world language position was going to be shared between the high school and the middle school. But when I spoke with Pam, instead of creating a shared position, I was encouraged and I was very happy for the idea to be able to create a position that just stays in the middle school all day because I had that alt ed money remaining because we eliminated that position going into this school year. So the first half of the day, Cam will be teaching world studies, which he can do as a social studies teacher. And the second half of the day, he'll be providing intervention and support, not alternative education, but kind of helping wane that transition away from it. So like, for example, Barbara, I have some kids in the 8th grade who used to receive alternative education services. And over the course of the previous school year, we gradually reduced those services, knowing that we were going to make a transition away from it. So I will use Cameron's position this coming year to kind of complete that transition with those 8th graders.
And my only other quick question. So I know that the world language was a 1-year ESSER. Wasn't the alt ed one? All right. So we had 2 positions, but you've got 1 person.
Yes. And I think, I could be wrong of this, but I think Pam has some ideas for the high school level once Sherry's resignation has been received.
All right. Thank you. That answered what I needed to know. Anyone else have a question? Any questions for Cameron? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve Cameron Carpenter for Derigo Middle School World Language and Social Studies, World Studies?
World Studies, yeah.
And a second? Comments or questions? Roll call?
John,
Yes.
Larry, Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Welcome to the family.
And
Mr.
I'm very
Carpenter.
glad we're getting a lot of people right out of Farmington. That's been hard.
He's
Thank
a
you, I
good
appreciate
teacher.
it.
Go Cougars.
And you can go home now, Cameron. Oh, quick question for. All righty, I gotta look at my menu, my God. Okay, am I going now to the computations? All right. Motion to approve the computation declaration of budget votes from June 13, 2023. Could I have a motion, please? And a second? And there was in your packet, right? Or no? Is it, we got 2 or 1? Okay. Which one? Say it again. That one. All right. So I need someone to read the information. Could I get a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we vote that the computation and declaration of votes dated June 27th, 2023, and attached here and be approved.
Do we read all of it or just that?
Okay.
Two more.
Further voted that the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of Regional School Unit number 56, and further voted that a certified copy of the computations and declarations of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks of the member municipalities within RSU Regional School Unit number 56.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Oh, I did. Sorry. Faux pas. All right. Roll call or any questions first? No questions. Roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Now, are we signing that one first? Or are we passing? Oh, you've got your own. We got the handy dandy pen. She gave us pens, yeah.
No.
Deanna, if you would like to come in tomorrow to sign those, you're more than welcome to. We do have a quorum at the table, so it's completely up to you.
Okay, I'll try to swing by after work.
All right. We're on their next item, motion to approve computation and declaration of bus garage votes from June 13th, 2023. Could I have a motion, please?
So move.
And a second?
You need this.
It needs to be read.
out?
Oh, sorry, faux pas. Go
Vote.
for it.
I take it this is this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Voted that the computation and declaration of votes dated June 27th, 2023, and attached here be approved. Further voted that the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of Regional School Unit number 56, and further voted that a certified copy of the computation declaration of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks within the RSU.
Now can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Larry. Comments, questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes. And now we're signing number 2. We don't sign anything for 3. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Motion to approve assessment warrants and installment schedules. Could I have a motion, please? And you do need to read. It's in our little handy dandy folder. What's there?
So I move that the warrant of assessments of tax and assessment schedule and the notice of installments for each member municipality prepared by the treasurer for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 be approved and be issued in form presented to this meeting, and that the treasurer be authorized and directed to deliver to each member municipality its warrants for assessments of tax and its assessment schedule and notice of installments.
Could I have a second, please? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Huh? Get set up. We have a good working relationship. Yeah. Oh, my. All right, we all set? All right. Oh, that's right. I don't want Mr. Carvis to be. All right, I think we're ready for you, Nick.
All right, I'm just making sure that it's going up on the screen. If you push resume share at the top, does that help?
Well, Nick, Brian said it's on the left. I screwed him. Here. Make sure they can, see it. And Deanna can see it too.
There we go. Perfect.
Wait a minute, Nick. Deanna, can you see the screen?
Yep, it's showing fine.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. This presentation is the esports information that was requested at the last board meeting. As I put this information into this presentation, as I'm going through it, please interrupt me if you do have any questions. You do not have to hold them to the end, because I am here to answer any questions that I might be able to answer. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to start with some generalized facts. Esports is one of the fastest growing sports within high schools at the national level. And then we asked for some state of Maine information. So this is the information that was reported out to all athletic directors within the communication from the MPA last year at the end of July, because that's after they collect all their information for the year. At that time, there were 34 participating schools in Maine, which was around 23% of MPA membership. And of those that participated within esports, 45% of those said that they were not involved in any other type of school-related activity prior to esports. The reported annual operating budget is anywhere between $500 and $3,000. And that's just kind of like an average that was reported out within this communication, which is a fractional cost compared to other programs that are offering similar benefits. And there are obviously grant opportunities that I discussed at the last board meeting that I will be able to apply for to help us with the cost of esports if we are able to go in that direction. And there are more than 200 post-secondary institutions across the country. And I do have some state of Maine information that is also in this slideshow that are offering more than $20 million in scholarships. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to talk about some benefits from esports. So the first one that I wanted to discuss was student engagement. So the first spot in the top left, you see developing lifelong skills. So esports still provides an opportunity for time management, leadership skills, communication skills, etc., that students are able to benefit from esports programs, along with our other programs that we offer here at Dirigo. The conceptual thinking. So when you are within an esport program, you have to execute and strategize next moves and work with your teammates consistently throughout the course of the competition. And obviously you have to have quick and adaptive creative problem skill development because you are reacting to any type of interaction that you are coming ahead to basically within a competition with the other team that is going against you basically. Teamwork. So there are only team-based leagues that are MPA sanctioned at this time, which means that there is not a game that it's one player specifically. There has to be multiple players that are involved to ensure that they are working together to basically win the competition. And then the success demands strong and clear communication skills that we obviously see that are sought after within daily life, employers, working, whatever you name it, you're able to develop those and use those past graduation of high school. And then sportsmanship, the competition allows for failure, as we see in all of our athletic programs. And this provides an opportunity for students who are participating to develop skills to cope with failures and to be able to rebuild on an individual level as well as with their teammates. Next slide, please. Benefits from esports, the scholarship opportunities. So I am talking at the national and the state level at this point. So on the left-hand side, as I said previously, there are more than $20 million available in scholarships at a national level, with more than 200 post-secondary institutions at this time that are offering esport programs. State of Maine and New England area scholarships are available. I wasn't able to get a specific number, but there is generalized information that they will be able to seek out as a possible opportunity. On the right-hand side, I only included a small list of state of Maine colleges and post-secondary institutions that are offering esport programs. This is not to say that every single one of these is offering a scholarship opportunity specifically, but these are the post-secondary institutions that are offering programs for students to be able to be a part of upon graduation at high school. And the 3 dots at the bottom mean that there is way more than I could even list, and it would have been too small to even read. So I just put some of the main ones up there, and I didn't want to leave anybody out, but like I said, the slide would have been pretty filled up at that point. And then additionally, I just wanted to say that participants are exposed to technology and game design, the career paths, basically at events, competitions, and tournaments where they are able to communicate with those that are within that field, because these are pretty sought out tournaments that employers are coming to and seeking out potential candidates for the positions, because these kids are basically mastering their skills within it. Next slide, please. Career pathways. So I touched on this just briefly, but they do not need to become professional gamers if they are part of esports in order to be within this career path. So the gaming industry value, and that is a correct number, that it's worth more than $140 billion. That is a ton of opportunity that individuals have to be able to choose different types of career paths within esports, paving basically a direction for them to be able to get involved and get more information about these. They provide opportunities for involvement and connections within the industries, and those are just 5 of the categories that came up within my own research of production, engineering, game design, internships, and art and design graphics are just some of the many opportunities that they would be able to possibly get into. Next slide, please. So these are just some of the projected outcomes that I wanted to put together for you. So participants will develop critical thinking skills, communication, collaboration, and creativity in order to achieve and sustain success. Try saying that 5 times, you'll get tripped up. And this is just for me to put out there that this is what we want to provide within our athletic programs as a whole, regardless. So esports would have that same exact guideline and pathway if we are able to offer this opportunity. This provides an environment for participants to work on their academia together. I see within our athletic programs currently, either before practice, after practice, if they're waiting for a ride, if they're waiting for the late bus run, students are actually working together on like their homework and their tasks for school and asking for each other's help, which this would just be another opportunity for students to be able to partake in that. With easy access and a lower cost of entry, esports creates an all-inclusive environment. So there is not necessarily barriers that are causing students to not choose to go into esports, and it's a pretty all-inclusive program altogether. And research shows that engaged students perform better within academia. We see that on a daily basis. And esports has the ability to appeal and engage a wider audience to ensure that they do have an increased performance within their academia. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a summary. So esports, I believe, will provide career opportunities, character development, sense of community, scholarship opportunities, increased engagement. It embodies ISTE standards, which is the technology inclusion within our teaching and learning. And then we have the STEAM engagement. And this is all without requesting any additional funds for the 23-24 academic school year. And based on this, within my previous conversations or within the previous board meeting and my communications with the MPA, this request is being made with me looking into the intent of grant opportunity to make sure that we are able to provide this for our students. And then I think it's comments and questions that is next.
Okay. Mary Ann, go ahead.
So it's listed generically as esports. What exact game or game designs, what would be played?
So there are specific games that are already MPA sanctioned. So the ones that were approved for this previous year, and I can't say necessarily that those are the ones that that list will only be it for next year, because there could be an opportunity to approve another game. The computer-based ones, I believe, were Rocket League and League of Nations. And then the other games were Mario Kart 8 and Super Mario Bros. Were the other two games. So there was 4 sanctioned games just for last year that they were participating within.
Larry?
Very good presentation. Thank you. I told you that I was going to do some research, and I did.
Sure.
The Center for Doctors for Osteopathic Medicine basically follow exactly what you just said about esports. Holly Zuibdi, the Director of Sports Medicine in New York Institute of Technology and Osteopathic Medicine. He oversees the Center of Esports Medicine and is co-author of a main book, and he supports everything you did. But he also has the downside. He also points out that there are health issues included in the vision of excessive screen time, neck and back pain from poor posture, carpal tunnel syndrome from repetitive motion, prolonged sitting, and high consumption of caffeine and sugar, and depression and anxiety resulting from internet gaming disorder. But everything has the downside. Football, you can break a leg. So everything has the downside. I also found out, is it good for high school? And this part, I think, is probably a positive. All the students can join it, becomes a social experience. And I think it's very positive for students to have a social experience. And by the way, this echoes Heidi's paper, or letter that she put out. So everything she said and what you said is sort of supporting that. It says they organize esports, bring these kids into the fold. It can help them become accepted and respected members of the school community. So it has a social aspect. The downside, of course, is all the health issues. Is it good for students? At the top of the list, opportunities for team building and developing real communication skills, but the vast potential benefits of esports for students can extend well past that. For starters, they can get exposure to many types of careers just within the esport industry itself. So that's a positive. I would support this very emphatically because of the social and educational experiences they're going to get. That being said, RSUs should be striving to be an inclusive school where all students can participate in their studies and extracurricular activities of their choice. I think the esports should be included. That being said, guidelines for esports should be established in the same format as the standards of safety and code of conduct as outlined in other sports. In other words, there should be some kind of a criteria so they can prevent those from happening, those kind of negative, if you will. So the same kind of code of conduct, same kind of safety procedures should be in place, but I totally support it.
And I will say that since it is MPA sanctioned, that means that our coaching staff still goes through the same exact type of credentials that any other athletic program has to. They have to watch all of the MPA sanctioned NFHS videos. We still have to go through the vetting process that we do for any other athletic program that we have here. And we abide to that through the MPA, and we have it as our own policy. Yeah, sorry, I think that was the only thing that I was going to say with that. Thank you.
Mary Ann?
Sorry. So the games that would be played are not necessarily sports games, but any game that could be commercially bought or purchased at any store.
Correct. I would say that they are not athletic based, but they are all team based. So there is not a single solo player game that they will be participating in on an individual level. It has to be a team based program, which means that you have to have a team. You can't just go with one individual necessarily.
Okay, what about games that are more violent in nature?
So I think that that's part of the vetting process that the MPA has. I don't want to speak for the MPA, but I believe that that's the reason why the games are not sanctioned by MPA is the ones that have that type of behavior within the game itself.
Oh, I have a couple. First, you mentioned grant to help. That doesn't mean grant covering. So what's the difference? Grant to help pay for or grant to cover?
Well, it's always a risk when you go for a grant that you either are not approved or you only are approved for a specific amount of money. Again, I do not have all the specific numbers of what it would cost to the tooth and nail, but I believe that there is enough opportunity for us to be able to get grants and be able to not request a budget increase for next year in order to offer esports.
So you're talking you're talking the current year or meaning this
23-24, the upcoming.
23?
Yep.
So you don't know. So it would be contingent, our vote would be contingent if we say, if we don't get grants or we disapprove it, then you find the money.
I would say that regardless, I would be able to find the money. I believe that there is enough opportunity that I will be able to get funds for us to be able to offer this.
Okay, because I do know whatever we did for a stipend that has to be negotiated with the union. So that, there was one, you talked about the after-school homework. I do know coaches really encourage that. So it's the coaches who do the, you know what I mean? They really stress that. So that's up to, usually it's the coach who decides that. Can you give, because, you know, we know when certain season are, can you explain what an e-sport, how long does a year go?
Sure.
When does it start? When does it finish? What is, how does it work?
Do that. So when I was looking into this, I pulled the information from the MPA bulletin for esports, and they have two different seasons, one being the fall season and one being the spring season. The fall season, the preseason began in September 5th, and the regular season ended at the end of November. So that means that there is a schedule that is made during that time frame, that there are competitions in which the kids participate within. Then they have their quarterfinals and basically their playoff bracket from the beginning of December until the middle of December. And then the state championships were held at CMCC last year on December 17th, 2022. The spring, so then just to recap, that's September, October, November for the regular season, and then part of December for playoffs. And the spring season, it began at the end of January, January 30th. The regular season ended on April 7th, which was the first week of April. So you're looking at just basically 2 months and a week. The playoffs then began in the mid of April, and the state championships fell at the end of April.
So, and how many matches or meets or whatever they call them, do they participate a week?
I cannot answer that 100%, so I don't want to take a guesstimate, but I
Okay.
will say that it'll probably be within the range of whatever the MPA sanctions for any other season.
Okay.
Or any other program, and it kind of fluctuates because basketball has a different number of
So
games
does
than-
these schools, do they do both seasons or one season?
So I think it's up to the school. I think that the fall season could be used as like a trial period, and then we could see if we're still able to, like, if we like the outcome of the fall season, then we can look into offering it in the spring season as well. So I think it could be either or both. Obviously, I would like to have the opportunity to offer it both times if the fall does go well. And I believe that there would be grant opportunity to have the funding available to start up the program and be able to fund it for both
Could
seasons.
a athlete like they can do currently, could an athlete doing another sport do that too?
Could they dual athlete?
Do athlete?
Yep, they can be a dual athlete. So they have to meet with both coaches and myself and any type of administration along with parents in order to do that. It would always be an opportunity for our student athletes to be a dual sport athlete, and our coaching staff works pretty well together when that happens. Usually it's an individual sport and a team sport. It's really hard to dual sport with two team sports because it's just a lot on a schedule.
Okay, one more question. So are they using their own laptops? How is this working?
So
What are
I-
they using? What are they doing for technology?
So I think that a couple of the games are using a computer based, so it would be like a desktop. It is not any type of laptops that you
Okay,
have.
yeah.
And then the other, it's some type of system that they use for the other games. So I want to say that those would probably fall within the Nintendo Switch consoles
Okay.
that they would be playing those on.
So we do currently have towers.
So I would have to look to see if they would be capable. But again, I think that that's where the grant opportunity falls, is the startup of making sure that you have the availability
Okay.
to actually play the games.
Okay. Bruce?
I have a few different questions. First one is, I'm presuming with it being played as a sport, we're going to be watching their grades. So if they are not doing well, that is
Yes.
applied.
They
Second
will-
question is that you talked about funding. Is this something that's going to be revisited every year, like every other sport? Like if it no longer is working well, we would revisit this each year?
Correct.
Okay. And then when you talked about playing and different things, is this playing during, are they using, again, they asked about technology, is it being played in school? Are kids playing this at home, and when are they playing this?
So this would be just like any other athletic program, which would be after school for like the practices. I mean, sometimes competitions, our athletic programs have had to leave before the end of the school day to ensure that they arrive on time. But the great thing about esports is we don't have to travel because we can have our competitions right in the school. So again, since I haven't personally gone through a season, I can't tell you the exact time that the competition started, but it would definitely happen after the school day, and they would be happening in school. So they would be able to have a place to meet, to be able to communicate with each other, with their coach, and be under supervision, just like any other athletic program, so that they're able to have it in the right way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Do you know if any other schools within, 50 miles of here participate in this and how they feel about it?
Yes, so one is Spruce Mountain and Oak. So Spruce Mountain, Oak Hill, and there's one more within our Mountain Valley Conference that offers it. Spruce Mountain has had a great experience with it, and they do offer both seasons. they actually, their athletic director is on the MPA committee as well, to make sure that they're making the right decisions so that it's able to progress in the right direction. And they've had a phenomenal turnout with kids compared, because I want to say that between either the first and second season or between the first and second year, because I can't remember if Spruce Mountain started in 21 or if they started in 22, they had an influx of participants. I don't want to say a specific number, but it definitely did get some traction and it did get more of their student body involved.
So you didn't get any feedback that there were any issues?
Correct. I did not hear any issues whatsoever.
Go ahead, Tim.
Have you surveyed the students to get any idea of the amount of interest?
I have not, just because I wanted to make sure that I presented the information to all of you guys first before doing so.
Go ahead,
What about staff?
I have not, because I wanted to make sure that I presented the information to you first. And I mean, obviously there is staff that has heard about it since the last board meeting that has been in support of it that I have heard from.
So you've gotten some feedback?
Yes.
Marianne?
Hi again.
Hi, Marianne.
So I guess my only, one of my concerns would be because the games they would be playing are commercially available, how much extra practice are they going to spend at home? I need these many hours, or, clean your room, eat your dinner. No, I'm practicing.
I would hope.
So because it's available, how
Right.
much of a concern is this? And have you heard anything from other schools or other parents?
I have not, but I want to view this as the same as any other athletic program of participating in football. Are you going home and participating in training too much? Gotcha.
Sorry, your
Yep.
whole team could be online, or if you purchase the game, you can play it all by yourself. And today's games are made specifically to be addictive.
Right.
So that would be my concern, especially if it extends eventually to the middle school level, because there are some choices that kids in middle school and high school should not make for themselves.
I think that I would hope as an athletic director that this provides us an opportunity for a coach or staff members or adults to be able to share limitations with kids. I believe that we have a generation in front of us that are going home and spending a tremendous amount of time in front of screens and participating in games. But I think that this is a possibility of being able to show limitations need to exist in order for us to actually have benefits from them. So being able to have that opportunity with the coach sharing the types of disciplinaries that need to happen internally as an individual when they go home. This is not the opportunity that you go home and practice for this many hours. It's not healthy. By being able to have this opportunity with kids and being able to share that information and having more resources to be able to share with them at practices and in competitions, I would hope it would shed light on the fact that that's not something that we want them to do or that they should do because of the health issues that can go along with that. That's my hope, Marianne. I'm very hopeful about everything.
I'm just being honest. I mean, I had a son graduated from here. He's 28, 29-ish. Was a two-sport athlete in the spring, all 4 years of high school, and played just a ridiculous amount of video games and still does. Couldn't get him to clean his room, couldn't get him to do anything. Sorry, son, if you're listening. Everybody knows him. He's very successful, but trying to get him to not play video games and still participate in sports and still, when you're home and you're in your room, and I didn't have any other kids, they're going to play video games, and there is no way around that. And if there are kids at home getting their parents to purchase this game so they can be better, that is a real concern to me.
And I think that, like I said, the opportunity to be able to communicate with student athletes, I believe it's also another opportunity to communicate with parents. Like, it gives you another avenue of being able to connect with a coach and say, this is something that I'm seeing within my student athlete. It is a concern of mine. It does feel like they're playing a significant amount. It sheds light on the fact that,
If that happens, do parents have the right to say, no, you can't play?
I mean, I think that every parent has every right to say that to their student or to their student athlete. Absolutely. And I would say that the communication that I would have specifically with students, like I even do with current programs, I have seen kids overtrain, especially with individual sports like running. Like, if it's something that I'm noticing that it seems to me that they're running a lot during the summer when it's super hot out, they're probably not hydrated. I have a conversation because I'm worried about them. Like, it's something that now I'm able to see and recognize and be able to have a connection with them and show that I care enough that they should be thinking about that kind of stuff. And I think that this is just another opportunity for us to be able to do that, even though it might look different than the running aspect. I hope that answered your questions. Okay.
One more quick question. How many is on a team? How many participates in the competition?
You are allowed to go to a competition with a minimum of 2 student athletes, as far as I know. Do I think that it's going to be 2 at Dirigo? I do not. I do think that we are going to have more participation from students. And I think it's going to be a more inclusive program also that might not be participating in any other program.
So what's your max?
I don't have a max set on any athletic
The
program.
NPA doesn't have any,
So I want to say I can't answer that 100%, and I'm sorry that I can't, but I'm assuming that a team does have a max, but I believe that you have an opportunity of putting alternates in
okay.
as well.
So I'm assuming the person that is hired for the stipend position would actually know how to play these games.
I would think that there would be some type of experience involved with
And-
esports or programming in general,
Correct.
just like we do for any other athletic
Yes.
program. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Nick? Go ahead, Carl. Wait. Yep.
So like in wrestling, if you're in the 155 class, the winner obviously goes on to the varsity. So if there was a lot of kids, would they play off against each other and then go? Is that how it would work?
I think that there is a chance for exhibition competitions during the course of the season, just to make sure that you can get better.
Like,
Yes.
you get your 10 best golfers and then, yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right, yep.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So it is a motion. Does anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we authorize the assistant principal / athletic director to pursue the esports program.
Do I have a second? Comments or questions? Go ahead, Marianne.
I think that not all of the questions we had were answered as far as parents or other schools or how successful it's been. I know we're about to vote in a minute, but I don't think I can support it until I have all of those answers. So I just wanted to say that because it's nothing
And I'm
personal,
sorry.
but I don't have enough
Sure.
information.
And I'm sorry that I didn't have all the answers to the questions for this evening. I would say that the information that I have received, whether at the MPA, athletic director, parent-ish level, from other schools, I haven't heard negatives of the actual program itself. I think that the concerns are there, but I think that even without the esports program, concerns are there about the same issues. Do I think that this can help avoid those things? It's an opportunity for us to be able to educate students on healthy limitations within it. And I think that the benefits are high within the esports program.
Any other comments or questions? Liz?
I think that if we're going to trust kids all the way across the board, whether they take things out of the library to read, or whether they monitor themselves when they're playing esports or any sport. My son ran around with a basketball in his hand for 4 years. And, every kid is going to do what they love. And if you expect I expect parents to monitor their children. And I think maybe we should trust that they can do that also. So, I think it's a go.
Go ahead, Larry.
If I might use Heidi's letter, that she said that we recently approved the addition of a chess club, and it's not an athletic sport, but is a competition that is played online with the computer chess. So if we can have chess, which is the non-traditional activity sports, esports is on the same line as chess being played online. So I think it's basically the same thing.
My only concern is if we don't get any money and then we got to take from something we've already budgeted and we didn't budget this. And you talked about communication. Well, getting that face-to-face communication is more important. It is vital because the kids already do communicate. When they're playing games, they have friends all over the world, everywhere they're playing games with. It's getting to learn the face-to-face communication, contrary to belief, it still is vital. And I would hope that would help, but I'm just more worried about, because I don't want to overextend. And I feel if you can get it, great, and see if it can work. I did read Heidi's Broomhouse about the chess. To me, that was an co-curricular. I mean, it's something the kids were really interested in and brought, it came to our attention. But I just know that whoever's going to do this has a vital piece. These kids are I'm not saying they're different, but they are, when they're a gamer, they have different, that's their forte. And so if you get someone coming in who's not a gamer or something, that's going to be a little, and they got to know how to deal with kids, that communication is very difficult. But we want to. So that's my only concern.
I am trusting in the fact that we have candidates within the local area that will be pretty extraordinary coaches for this esports program if we're able to move forward with it.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. Seeing none, roll call.
Don,
Yes.
Larry, Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes,
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Sorry, no.
that's all right, Mary Ann. That's right. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks.
You can go home, Nick, or is he's not reporting again, is he? No, you don't want to go home. All right, our next item is a review of policy IJJ, and it was in our folders. There was a discussion at the end of the last board meeting to considerations of, of a rating system. And so this is the way we currently do our library, and I think the curriculum is still in there. No, just instruction. It is instructional, is the way we do material selection. And it says right on the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph, the board delegates. This is a required policy. This is something we have to have in place, because I do know with a curriculum, if somebody has a parent or a parent has an issue, I do know they meet and they discuss alternatives in a different way. If it deals with, it doesn't that they're not taught that, but I know we've done that for multiple years. So this is requested. We wrote to review if we want any changes and what we need to do. And on our policy, like Kristen said, the criteria for selection is in our policy. A through J. So I'm gonna open it up. Comments, questions? What do we want to do? Because a review would mean, if we want to change our policy, it would go back to the policy committee. So
Are you talking about changing the policy to add the rating system? Is that what you're talking about?
well, it was brought up in that, and then there was questions which I expressed too was, well, what rating system do you use?
So the option is revise the policy or approve this one as is.
This one is already approved,
That's
but
what I
it's
thought.
the current policy. This is our current policy. And it was, please don't, oh, it does say, it is. It's been since we were an RSU 56. And we do review it, and I'd have to go back to see when RSU 10, we revised it. Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, in talking about the IJJ policy, I had no problem with that. That was not what was discussed or brought up. And as far as a rating system was concerned, it was more in line with listening to people in the community and having concerns about different topics in the library, which I think I brought it up last time, which were of sexual nature or violence, and had nothing to do with any population whatsoever. It was a overall thing, but it had nothing to do with the IJJ. That policy, I think, is sufficient and good for what it's used for. Curriculum, or anybody that doesn't want their child to read a certain book in English class and they can give them a different book to read. I think that's what you meant, right?
That we've always
Right.
done that
We've
in
always-
our sex education. If a
Right.
parent opts out because of main learning results, they do have to have something.
Right.
So that's always been done administratively because that is their forte. And like I said, we delegate the responsibility for the criteria and the things like it says in the policy. Because
And I do agree, and I appreciate everybody that came and talked. And I do agree that it is up to parents to, if they have concerns, to voice their concerns. I have a question. If a parent, say, for example, has concerns about what's in the library, can they opt their child out? Is there a way that they might say, like you do for an English class, if they want to?
well, they don't opt out of the whole class. They're in the classroom.
No, I'm
They're
talking about
in-
the library.
No, the library they utilize as a resource.
Okay.
It's not where we go to the library for, like, I don't even know if elementary still does that.
Elementary does still go to the
Okay,
library.
yes.
High school students do not have a set library time that they have to go and check out a book.
Okay.
They're able to go to the library if they have a learning lab. There are some times that teachers go down there for a lesson and students pick out books at that point in time, but nobody's forced to pick out library books at the high school library.
So anyways, like I said, and make it clear again, there's no issue with that IJJ policy whatsoever. That had nothing to do with what was brought up at the last meeting. And like I said, I appreciate everybody's contribution. And I do agree that it is up to parents to be vigilant and find out what their children are reading and doing. And if they have a problem, then they can address it.
And that's what the procedure went and has worked very successfully because I mean, every student needs to do research. I mean, they can do it on their laptop, some of it, but that's why we have libraries for multiple choices of research and reading. So, it wasn't an action. Does it need to be, Larry?
My understanding, Liz, is that you, at the end of the meeting last time, you said that you wanted some kind of a rating system for the library materials. Is that correct? Some kind of a rating system?
Something that would identify the topic, either violent, like a violence, something that's really violent
So
and
you
some
want some kind of
children.
you want some kind of a rating system. Is
Right,
the
and
word
I,
you
and I had
used?
no idea how this was going to go. I was asking if it was something anybody was interested in.
Okay, Well, the reason I bring up, you said exactly you wanted some kind of a rating system for the library materials. I listened to it on tape. The reason I brought that up is you said that, you stated that if it was a no, that'd be okay. Well, the answer is no. An act established, this is a summary of LD 1008, the state legislature. An act established a rating system for the books in the school library sponsored by Representative Gary Drinkwater. It was on a motion by Senator Rafferty of York majority ought not to pass. It was not passed. So according to state law now, which went into effect on June 13th, 2023, you can't have a rating system. So the bottom line is you can't have a rating system. So the answer is no.
I watched that today and I watched it the other day. So I do know that 1008 did not pass.
So that means you can't have a rating system. Also, on that same line, the school board got the paper from the ACLU, and it says the Supreme Court held over 40 years ago that the quote, local school boards may not remove books from the school library simply because they dislike the ideas contained in these books. Pico 457 US at 872. The special characteristics of the school library make the environment especially appropriate for the recognition of the First Amendment rights of the student. Emphasis original, given the special role of the school library as a place where students may freely and voluntarily explore diverse topics, the school board's non-curricular decision to remove a book well after it has been placed in the public school library evokes the question whether the action may not be unconstitutional attempt to quote strangle the free mind at its source. Campbell versus St. Tammany Curricular Schools 64 Federal 3rd edition 184. Having that kind of system is just another way of banning books. Also, if you have a rating system, it's going to put total burden on an overtaxed library already. They've got to go through every book, read every book, and identify what is in those books. We have better things to do as a school board than to implement a rating system. We have more pressing things for our students right now in this school than a rating system in a library. And I don't think it's at any point in time, we have the right to ban and stifle students' education.
Okay, so you want to go ahead, Liz? Or you all
I
set?
wasn't about banning books at all.
Okay.
And I read that,
That's
but
where it's
no.
Okay, so we know we got our policy, which is currently approved. If I get like I don't see anybody wanting, oh, Carl, go ahead, guy.
Hey, I think our librarians are doing a great job. I think that they should be in charge of what happens in the library. But in the policy, social studies and science textbooks should not be older than 5 years. We might want to reword that because that's not going to work.
I don't even know if they do buy
Can we
some.
reword that to social studies and science textbooks should not be outdated or something instead of putting a
Yeah,
time, yeah.
that's true.
No.
Yeah, they're outdated. We
No,
just
I mean,
changed some science.
5 years goes by so fast. I mean, but like I said, you go to an auto mechanic to get your car fixed, you go to the librarian should be in charge of that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions, Bruce?
The only comment I'd add is that as been discussed, we hired these people to oversee these programs, the librarian techs. If we're gonna start questioning their abilities and their context of what they're doing, we're running into problems. So I suggest that we allow them to continue to do their job.
Thank you. All right, I'm seeing a consensus of we're all set. Second reading of policy ADAA, school system commitment to standards for ethical and responsible behavior. It has not changed since the first reading. Could I have a motion, please?
So move.
And a second,
Second.
comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Thank you. Second reading of policy EEAEAAR, drug and alcohol testing of school bus drivers, administrative procedure. It has not changed since the first reading. Could I have a motion, please?
So move.
And a second,
Second.
comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
All right, second reading of policy IHBAL, grievance procedure for persons with disability. Could I have a motion, please? And has not changed since the first reading.
So move.
And a second,
Second.
comments or questions? We're just not used to this AC in this room. It's wonderful. Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Since, I don't know if you have any update, Bruce. Okay. And so technically, the Region 9 people, which he can think of, are representatives, can be citizens. They do not need to be, so at some board meeting, if we could nominate, we got to get another one, but if you're willing, you could think about it. I would love to have you because that's very important.
Your term at Region 9 is still in effect,
So,
correct?
yes, so he's still there. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get somebody else. You could be chair. All right, thank you. Superintendent's report.
I spent the last 2 days at the Commissioners Conference. On a plus note, it was in Bar Harbor and it actually saw some sun on Sunday, which was nice. The focus of the conference ranged from the future of public schools to school safety to developing systems to address the educator and school staff shortage. So there was some good topics being discussed. I do want to say that I'm concerned that we may potentially need a midsummer board meeting to address any hiring that might need to occur. Teacher candidates may not be willing to wait until August 22nd if we do need to hire any of them. So I might at some point need to do a call around and see if we can at least do a Zoom meeting and do some official hiring if necessary. And I do want to report that the annual board training has been set for 5 o'clock prior to our August 26th board meeting. All members should attend. 22nd, what did I just say? I'm sorry, I have written 22nd in my notes. So it's August 22nd is our board meeting. At 5 o'clock, we'll do annual board training. All members should attend and new members must attend because it's a required training. 22nd of August, 5 o'clock. I will, meaning Kathy will send out letters in August, reminding people that that's happening. I remember to say, when I say we, I really mean somebody else, so just like at home. While Miss Conley's getting ready to come up and present, I will just go through the rest of my things as she's coming forward. We have Patrice Parker as a Derigo Elementary School Ed Tech 3 that has been hired. Kathy Robbins, bus driver custodian. We have a stipend coaching position, Sonia Arsenal for the Civil Rights Advisor at Derigo Elementary School. I'm going to go quickly through the high school. Cross-country running coach, Gunnar Bradbury. Field hockey varsity coach, Gretchen Curtis. Field hockey junior varsity coach, Aaron Wainwright. Football varsity head coach, Craig Collins. Football varsity assistant coach, Chris Whitney. Football junior varsity coach, Kelly Wells. Golf head coach, Chandler Redmond. Soccer varsity coach, girls, Chris Arugio. At the middle school, cross-country running coach, Alan Tashney. Field hockey head coach, Stacy Gilbert. Field hockey assistant coach, Alexis Holman. Soccer varsity coach, girls, Yami Hamalainen. Soccer varsity coach, boys, James Hamalainen. We had 2 resignations. Christine Lothrop, she was a 20-hour-a-week building grounds transportation. and Sherry Hugh, world language teacher at the elementary and middle school. That was the ESER position. And we do have a transfer of Terry Williams. She is going to move into an one-year ESER paid position that will be our substitute bus aide and a floating ed tech 3. What's that? Oh, Kathy Robbins. Oh, sorry, I didn't write that down. Kathy Robbins is ESER as a bus driver.
Oh,
custodian.
okay.
So,
I think I saw that.
and then I will turn it over to Miss Conley to give us the end of the year update from special education.
I don't know how to Is that on?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. So I thought I would start tonight with just updating you on some things that are happening related to special ed at a state level. You may or may not have been aware of. So LD 98 has passed. It's no longer tabled. The only way it wouldn't be in effect at the beginning of this school year would be if the governor vetoed it, which is unlikely because it is a federal requirement, which is that students can now attend up to their 22nd birthday, students with disabilities, but that is decided by an IEP team. So there are some parameters around why a student would stay that long. And typically it's our most significantly impaired students that would need ongoing education with us up to the age of 22. We also, at this point, they're looking at the Chapter 101, which is the Muser, basically the Bible for special education. We use that to guide all of the steps that we're taking. They are in the process right now of holding stakeholder meetings this summer. They've been talking about revising this for several years to ensure that there are some pieces that we do in the state of Maine that are above and beyond where the federal government requires, especially as it relates to paperwork. And we do lose special education teachers frequently to regular education because of the amount of paperwork that's required as part of the role in terms of progress monitoring and such with the IEPs. The other piece that you may have seen is that there was an emergency rule passed, and this was for special purpose private schools to essentially pay tuition for a student even when they're absent. And really what happened with COVID, there was a big hit to our special purpose private schools. For some school districts, that's a little bit of a frantic word when that emergency rule went into effect. But for us, we never, we always budgeted as if students were attending every day. So we had the funds sitting there and ready to pay. So we were not in the position of sort of scrambling. Some districts kind of counted on students being absent some and didn't budget for the full attendance year. Another piece is that the Special Services Department through Maine has changed their name a little bit, and there's intention behind that. So if you were to look it up now, it says Special Services and Inclusion Department. And that is because there is a very big push, and I'm excited about it, for inclusion of our students with disabilities as much as possible. There are federal regulations around that as well, that we have to have students in their least restrictive environment as much as they're capable of being able to be and be successful. So that those were just a few kind of state level updates. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the successes of this year. I will never be able to talk about all of them. And so I just want to say that I feel really lucky to be part of the team that you have here, the special education team for this district. It's a group of really dedicated, hardworking individuals who I can't list off all the wonderful things they're all doing every day. So I'm just gonna say some highlights today and that I think are amazing. We had 8 students. I know I talk about this when I come, how many have graduated and met their IEP goals. So they've graduated into the general education system and no longer have an IEP. We had 8 this year, and that's, since I've been here, the most that I've seen. So that speaks to the work the students are doing, and it speaks to the work that the staff are doing here. We ended the year with a total of 132 students in special education. We if any of you have seen the beautiful garden behind the old central office, that I have to say her name because she's worked tirelessly. Dina Littlehale, as an ed tech here at the high school, has really worked hard with the students in planting the garden and working on that. They started with seedlings up in the classroom, so that's exciting. And they're going to harvest this fall and be using some of what they get to work on cooking activities, which will also include obviously some math and reading. And I've watched them do some of that in our life skills program. And it's pretty fun to watch the students work together as a team and create recipes. We also, I think it's important to note, we had a student who graduated from high school this year, who with our corrective reading curriculum made 2 years of growth in 1 year. So that again speaks really highly to the work that's being done both by students and staff. We now have a staff member who, I've been talking about this a lot too, she's finally officially trained as a trainer for the Step Up to Writing curriculum. And there's not a lot out there when it comes to special education and really a strong writing curriculum. Teachers are often kind of grabbing different resources. So this curriculum, this particular staff member has been using with success, but now she's actually a trainer. So the hope is this fall she'll be training the rest of our special education teachers along with some ed techs. When I look forward to next year, another piece we're working on is creation of a behavior skills lab at Dirigo Elementary School. And that is with a certified BCBA that we are contracted with. And really it's working to support the students who have the most extreme lagging behavioral skills that are really struggling to be able to attend to the academic content because behavior is getting in the way. So we're going to be trying to focus on that. We are restarting, and apparently this has been around for a long time. Peggy Morse informed me, I think it was, 9 to 10 years ago, a community-based work program in working with local businesses. Peggy came to me and said, hey, this kind of fell by the wayside with COVID because we weren't able to be out in the communities. And so we're looking to get that back up and running. I'm going to be relying a lot on her expertise because she's been doing it for a while. But that's also exciting for our students to get out into the community. I am also implementing through the Master Teacher platform, professional development for our ed techs. So often when we have teacher workshop days, we're sort of scrambling to figure out, okay, how do we support ed techs and their ongoing professional development and learning? And this is an extensive library of resources that I'm going to support funding for them to be able to access. There are also some lots of free resources on the DOE website for them as well that I've pointed them to, but this is a more organized platform that's really going to meet their needs. And then I guess I just want to say, which I meant to say at the beginning, when we think about inclusion, I haven't run the numbers yet, but I want to bring those back to you for our district. But right now, according to the U.S. Department of Education, we've got about 64% of our students with disabilities that are in the regular ed setting 80% or more of their time. So it's really important. Our district, I feel like prioritizes inclusion. I prioritize inclusion when students are able. Not all students are at all times, so we have to pay attention, and that's why they have their individualized plans. But we do use accommodations and modifications to make sure they're able to access curriculum and be with their peers. There's a lot of research that shows lots of positive outcomes when students are there with their general education peers learning. I know that was fast, but those were my bullets that I wanted to share with you tonight. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions? So they did pass the one about if they're absent at private school, we do get charged.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
I did see where some schools got slammed
Yes.
for like $500,000 or so. Lewiston didn't have the money.
Yeah. So thankfully we were not in that position because we budgeted for all potential school days.
Okay. Any other questions for her? Thank you. Oh, Carl?
Do we have any like 21 or 22-year-olds here now?
No, not at
No?
this time.
But that could
There are
change,
students,
yeah.
there are going to be a couple of them,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Keep them here.
Yep. And it does give just more time to
Oh,
make
no,
sure
I
those.
think it'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank
Are
you.
you done? 2 ways to that. Poor woman. Oh, it's that 60 degrees AC. No, it's when he shut it off. Okay. Do we have any student report? There no school. All right. Policy committee. Oh, I just love getting that policy development letter. We had just, which Kathy pointed out, we had just done this December, and they've got another new public participation at board meetings policy, all rewritten nicely. And then they have another policy about consent agenda. And it's basically, I think they're trying to get where their board meetings in the state are run smoothly. And to me, that's what your board and the board chair is supposed to do, that it does work. Because I think we do a really good job. Doesn't matter if we agree or disagree, we get our business done. And we're capable of moving things ahead and moving it around so people don't have to be here forever except us. Finance committee.
There's nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Okie dokie.
Very succinct.
Oh, yes, the budget passed. Curriculum, I know there's nothing to report. Buildings and grounds. But bus garage and a bus, and that is a major, I am so happy that I think that's going to be a positive for us. Negotiations is next year. Personnel, Natalie's not here, but our lovely athletic director has, we've been working on the job description for the, just the extracurricular, the and because some lovely person had them all on digital when she left another region, she took everything she got nailed down. Well, I worked hard on them. So we'll be seeing them. He'll go through the personnel committee. Ad hoc has nothing to report. Board member comments. Go ahead.
I just want to say, I was so happy to see that we're going to be finally building our own bus garage. It's something that I started looking into with Kenny quite a few years ago. We took the slow process of getting money funded, getting things put aside. COVID was a big help because we were able to move resources over. I think it's the best win-win situation this district is going to see.
Thank you. And my only other comment, Mary Ann, you're getting done. You with us from the beginning. And you off and on, but you were with, and Angela
I
got
keep
done.
coming
too.
back.
Well, that's good when you have time, but you're on another goal, but go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say I've been here kind of from the beginning, off and on, and it really has been a privilege. That's all.
Any other comments? And I would just, oh, Don, go ahead.
I'd like to thank Bruce. When I come on, Bruce helped me out very much on the board. And he's been a big help in all the committees I've served with him. And I would say we're gonna miss him.
Oh, I'm gonna miss him too. He really did. It's a lot of work. Carl.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Bruce for being a calm voice of reason and experience.
Liz.
And also, thank you, Bruce.
And go ahead, Larry.
When I first started on the board, Bruce took me aside a couple times, hey, you can't do that. And yeah, really. And I have stopped doing some of it. But for the most part, Bruce has been somebody to look up to, somebody that you can respect, and somebody that when he speaks, you listen. So he will be missed and his voice will be missed.
I think one of my highlights, besides all the things, when he sat between He sat in your place, Larry, so you couldn't sit next to Todd. All right, could I get a motion to adjourn? And a second? Thank you. Roll call.
John,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yeah.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann.